So the Knicks are in a weird situation, right? The Knicks are in a weird situation. I have notes in front of me, but I don't know where to begin exactly. So I'll begin with what I feel like I see on the floor, right? So what I see on the floor, and trust me, I was prepared. C Mac, what's good, bro? C Mac is in the building. So I'm recording this as an audio podcast for the platforms and stuff. And after this, I'm gonna do a Knicks morning drive, but I hadn't done this in a while, so I have to put something out here for my audio podcast listeners, the loyal listeners. I think it's about 200, 300 of y'all that stay downloading the Blowing Tears audio podcast and look forward to it being dropped. And I'm so humbled. I'm so humbled by that. I'm used to this. I'm just an average guy. So when when you look at the thing and you see that Knicks fans, NBA fans, and fans of Blowing Tears are using Alexa to download the Blowing Tears podcast is tremendously humbling. And I understand like where my niche is in Nick's universe. I understand that, man, maybe being an orator is my niche. And so that's why I call myself the number one chief rocket in Nick's universe, because there are some things I'm very good at in Nick's universe and some things I need to work on. Right. Right. But here we are. Right. I digress. So thank you to the members of the channel, of this channel. We dropped some stuff for you yesterday, and thank you to the Patreons. Thank you to the wild YouTubers that come and rock with us every day, just about. I appreciate everybody for coming through and supporting the channel as we grow and expand, right? So here's my thing about what I see on the floor. I'm going to put a lot of information into a small time frame so that we can get to the next morning drive, right? Jay Busby in the building. Mr. Rodney is in the building. What's good? Roy, what's happening? The hip hop legend called Mega is in the building. The original DSJ is in the building. What's good, y'all? So I'm going to tell you what I see, right? Just general observations. Jalen Brunson is definitely an upgrade at point guard, right? But don't let points per game tell the entire story. Okay? Don't let points per game tell the entire story. The entire story can't be told just by general ESPN statistics, right? So Jalen Brunson's points per game are impressive, but it goes deeper than that, right? The story's not told just in, hey, he's averaging 21 points a game and he's averaging 6 point something assists per game. What we should be looking at is this. Does a point guard make everyone on this team better? Does a point guard make everyone on this team better? Right? That's what we should be looking at. And the eye test tells us that with Jalen Brunson, the Knicks score more points per game than they did last year. Right? I'm going to go to the points per game thing real quick. Let me go to the points per game leaders. Right? Right now, the New York Knicks are scoring 113 points per game at this moment. At this moment, the Knicks are scoring about 113 points per game, right? That seems like a lot more than last year, but let me check this thing in real time. Right? In real time meaning I hadn't looked at this beforehand. I'm going to look at it right now. Last year, the Knicks scored 106.5. So with Jalen Brunson and with the new rule changes and such, the Knicks are about 7 points per game better than they were last year. Right? So now what I want to do is look at the opponent points per game versus the Knicks. Last year, the Knicks gave up 106.6 points per game. Right? So they scored 106.5. They gave up 106.6. This year, the Knicks scored 113, and they give up 115. So the point differential for this year is a -2 this year. Do the Knicks look like a -2 points per game team to you? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, they do not. But let me get into the addition of Jalen Brunson, and I'm going to get into some other things too. Right? Basically, what I'm getting at is, are the Knicks better with Jalen Brunson, or are numbers telling us a story that is not necessarily true? DeRoss is in the building. What's good? Smido 83 from Germany. What's good, man? Hey, we doing good over here. Jay, what's good, boss? And for those of y'all listening to the audio podcast, I'm shouting out the YouTubers, the people that come in on YouTube. And I know this is an unfamiliar thing because usually what happens is in an audio podcast platform, you usually just address a topic or speak to a specific topic, or have a guest on and you just exchange with the guest. I'm rocking alone in Studio G, and so I'm shouting out the members of YouTube as they go up and down the written chat. So getting back to my point, or getting back to the direction, Darren Wayne, what's good, man? Is Jalen Brunson's contribution to the Knicks through 24 games helping the Knicks? And first of all, let me say this before we get funky into numbers and stuff. Absolutely, yes. Jalen Brunson is an absolute positive to the New York Knicks, whether the numbers say that he is or not. There are certain things that you can't quantify with numbers, but I have to use numbers as a baseline to describe certain things. Paris Douglas in the building. Paris Douglas says we would have been one without Brunson. So next topic. So Paris Douglas, shut up and listen. Paris Douglas, it's too early. Yeah, Paris Douglas, shut up and listen. We hadn't even been here 10 minutes yet. Put your fingers in your pocket, Paris Duggan. So what I'm getting at with the Jalen Brunson thing is through 24 games, the Knicks have been very up and down. On some nights, on some nights, the Knicks look like a real contender because things click. Things click, man. Click. They click. Like the what's the dude name from Seinfeld? Jerry um Seinfeld's friend, not the one that comes slamming through the door all the time, getting meat out of the refrigerator or bringing over the bad cable guys. The other dude's his partner, the dude that he walk around the city with. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Um, um, the clumsy guy, the one he's always like, yeah. So, anyways, the numbers click, right? But let me say this. Let me say this. The addition of Jalen Brunson helps the Knicks in a way that numbers can't truly evaluate the presence of Jalen Brunson at this moment, right? Whether it's the offensive numbers or the defensive numbers, right? So the addition of Jalen Brunson's it gets us into smoother offense. The offense doesn't look as disjointed as it did last year. And I understand the rule changes have some part to play, right? But there are a bunch of rule changes, right? Right, where you can't stop the foul, you can't do the dumb take foul anymore. But at the same time, the NBA officiating committee, the rules committee, are putting an emphasis on travel, carry, and discontinued dribble. So while one helps the offense, the other looks to help the defense. George, that's it, Kerry Cox. Yeah, George Costanza, that's his name, that Jerry's friend from Seinfeld. So as I did the research for this joint here, I did it. It takes me 2 or 3 days to get the topic and think about what it is that I want to relay, and then think about how I want to relay it to everyone to in fairness to everybody involved, just come across as a truth teller and a fact teller, as opposed to leaning one way or the other as a Knicks fan. And so as a truth teller, the Knicks offense looks a lot better. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with it. The offense looks better, but who in the offense looks better? Right? Does RJ Barrett look better? Does Quentin Grimes look better? Does Emmanuel Quickly look better? Does Obi Toppin look better? Does Cam Reddish look better? Does Mitchell Robinson look better? Does Julius Randle look better? Does Evan Fournier look better? And these are the type of questions that we have to ask, because ultimately, the game is about the team winning and not about a player shining, right? The game is about the team success and not about the player success. Now, team success can at times make a player look good. And sometimes a player success can make the team look good. But the ultimate driver of team success is team success. The ultimate driver of team success is team success. It's like the old men say, it's about the name on the front of the jersey and not about the name on the back. Um, sometimes, uh, yeah, it's a weird way to put stuff. But let me say this though with Jalen Brunson, because I want to move off of JB a little bit because his impact on the Knicks offense is resounding, but his impact on the Knicks defense is maybe the other way. And in fairness to Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, we knew what Jalen Brunson was when we were looking to sign him in free agency. I don't know what Jalen Brunson's defensive rating is at the moment. I didn't want to research it because I didn't want to have a biased conversation, right? It's one of those things you kind of look but you don't look. The same thing with his offense, you kind of look at it but you don't look at it because you want to have the eye test, be the ultimate judge because analytics are good. Analytics are good. Analytics are good. But the eye test is ultimately what you go by. You use metrics to help you formulate a picture. Basically, you should be looking at this thing like 60% eye test and 40% everything else. Right? And Paris Douglas says, coach favoritism continue to okay, kill morale. Yeah, that's something we probably gonna talk about that on the Knicks morning drive. On this right here though, I got a thing that I'm gonna put out here and you know, y'all know how it is. Y'all know how it is when we rock. Varsity Customs is in the building. It was good, Varsity Customs. Kev Guapo is in the building. And again, guys, as I do this audio podcast joint, my dog is down here at my feet snoring. Eh, a dog's life must be a beautiful life. You get to eat whatever gourmet dog food you want to eat, and you get to wear these nice custom knit sweaters, and you get to go to the doggy doctor, and you get to ride in cars and go to these groomers and get washed and get pedicures and all this. A dog's life must be a beautiful life. I come from the ghettos of Jersey City, New Jersey, so I wouldn't know what that life is like, so to speak. Not not my whole life. Worldwide L, my friend Worldwide L is in the building. He is the host. He's the host, I guess, of For the Love of the Game podcast on YouTube. Him and another good friend of mine, Hartwell. They do an insane job on their YouTube channel. And so if you're listening to this in the audio podcasting format, and one day you go on YouTube, make sure you check out For the Love of the Game. Worldwide L is my friend. I really like that guy, man. He's what we call good people. So shout out to Worldwide L. Mr. Vince is in the building. So my thing Jalen Brunson is, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's the red pill, blue pill scenario. And if you're the Knicks, you absolutely had to put yourself in the situation of getting Jalen Brunson. You had to. You had to. You had to because Jalen Brunson has flaws on the floor. But at this point, in this point, where the Knicks are, you had to take the chance of getting an offensive upgrade at point guard, even if it meant you had to take a step back defensively at the point of attack. Silver Surfer is in the building. Our future media. Adam is in the building. Adam, what's good? What's good, Adam? The step back defensively by the Knicks with the addition of Jalen Brunson, I think has a domino effect on one player in particular, and that player is Quentin Grimes. And so my feelings about Quentin Grimes are mixed. I'd love for Quentin Grimes to do a few things, and this is critique on the court. This has nothing to do about when he was drafted, why he was drafted. Is he a starter? Is he not a starter? I don't care at this point, right? I don't care. The main thing we want to focus on is improvement for Grimes, right? And I'll speak to where I think Grimes needs to improve. I think on ball, Quentin Grimes is a very, very good defender. He is good at denial, right? When his man is looking to get the ball, Quentin Grimes plays aggressively to deny his man the ball. The passer to his man has to work at times, has to work really hard in order to just get the ball to the man that Quentin Grimes is guarding. And Quentin Grimes is very good at one-on-one shadow defense, stand in front of his man. Quentin Grimes doesn't reach, he doesn't gamble, right? He doesn't gamble, he doesn't do a lot of things. He shadows his man in a physical way for a 6'5" guard. A 6'5" guard that is a physical defender up in his defender's chest. Now, does Quentin Grimes have excellent, or does Quentin Grimes have burst? Yes, defensively. Defensively, Grimes has burst defensively. When his man takes off, Quentin Grimes can sink those hips and rotate his hips and ride his man, right? Now, here is where I think Grimes can improve. When Grimes' man beats him, and listen, every NBA defender is going to get beat. These NBA players, offensive players, are too good. Every NBA defender, I don't care who you name, Giannis is going to get beat. It don't matter who Ben Simmons is going to get beat off the dribble. It doesn't matter what elite Matisse Thybulle is going to get beat off the dribble. It happens to every NBA defender. These guys are too good. Right? So here's the thing with Grimes. When Grimes gets beat, though, my contention with Grimes in the occasion that he gets beat is when he gets beat, he doesn't defend the shot on the way to the rim, right? It's like he hadn't been coached that, right? It's like he hadn't been coached that. Okay, it's not that it's not that Grimes it's not that Grimes is a bad defender. Grimes is a very, very good defender. But when he gets beat off the dribble and his man goes into his finishing package, you don't see Grimes with the ability to put that hand up in this offensive player's face in order to deter the shot. You see Grimes, instead of throwing that hand up, and I hope he starts to do this, instead of throwing that hand up, that one hand, and staying with his man, kind of like in a Darrell Revis type scenario, right? What Grimes does is looks to reestablish position. Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contributions. Paris Duggar says Grimes would be a rotation player on the Celtics. I appreciate you, Paris Duggar, for that. What he does is, and this is what I've noticed this year. And I don't, and initially when I saw it, I didn't know if it was a Tibbs thing or a Grimes thing or a new NBA thing or whatever it is. Everything else in Grimes' defensive arsenal to me is above par, right? Above par. Oh, jeez. Uncle Freezy just takes a sip of the unsweetened tea. It's warm. Oh, God. I'm trying to get off of sugar, y'all. I'm trying to stay off of sugar. That's why you see me making a bitter face. I'm gonna set that unsweet tea to the side for a moment. That's a challenge. Unsweet tea is a challenge. Unsweet tea is a challenge. Mm. But Grimes defensively, Grimes is a keeper. Grimes is probably going to be in a category with defenders like Matisse Thybulle. Grimes is going to be in that category of a Matisse Thybulle, right? So if you're a Knicks fan and you thought Grimes was going to be Jimmy Butler, relax. Just relax a little bit. Quentin Grimes, perimeter defense. Quentin Grimes, to me, his best attribute is screen navigation. Screen navigation, right? So he navigates screens in a way that he stays in the play on the ball handler, and it has a way to stay with his man throughout because he's strong. The one thing we don't give Quentin Grimes credit for is being a strong, sturdy defender. Strong, sturdy defender, right? And so there are two. When it comes to wing defenders, there are two schools of thought, right? You can either, and this is me making it up so that you guys can understand where I'm coming from, right? There is the Scottie Pippen type wing defender. Excuse me. There's a Scottie Pippen type wing defender that gives you space and makes up for things using athletic ability and length. You know the type of guy. Ben Simmons, Scottie Pippen, Robert Covington in his prime. Robert Covington in his prime years. You know those type of defenders, right? And then Stacey Augmon, the Stacey Augmon type, Corey Brewer type defenders. And then there are the Bruce Bowen type defenders, right? The physical, make you work for everything, navigate all these screens, always in your space, not giving you really room. You can't rub them off. You know what I'm saying? And that is where Grimes is. That is where Grimes is. Bruce Bowen and Quentin Grimes are not going to wow you with athleticism, but they will wow you with dog. You can't shake them off, right? You can't. You just can't shake them off, right? Grimes is that type of defender. And he should be utilized that way. But the thing about a Grimes type defender is he is a system team defender that is basically his goal is to not stop an offensive player from getting in their move. Like if Quentin Grimes is, just use your imagination for a moment. Just ride with me on this. Just ride with me on this. If Quentin Grimes is guarding a Ja Morant, Allen Iverson type of guard, right? Quentin Grimes' goal is not to stop them from saucing him up. Quentin Grimes is going to allow the saucing to happen and then use his physical gifts when it's time for the shot to go up. Because Quentin Grimes doesn't need to steal the ball from Ja Morant. He doesn't need to steal the ball from Allen Iverson. He doesn't need to block the shot of Ja Morant. He doesn't need to block the shot of Allen Iverson. He needs for them to miss the shot. That's all. And his job is done. All Grimes needs is for that player, that Ja Morant, that Anthony Simons type of player, he just needs for them to miss and for his teammates to get the defensive rebound. And once they do that, Quentin Grimes' job is done on that possession. Quentin Grimes' job is done on that possession. All he needs is for his offensive man, the guy he's guarding, is to miss his shot. And for the Knicks, as a team, not Mitchell Robinson, not Julius Randle, but the team to team rebound. And see, this is one of the things that's missing from the Knicks right now. Team rebounding. Everybody on a body. Communication. When a shot goes up, shot. Everybody, when they hit shot, they already know they should be going to the closest opposing jersey and putting a body on them. And Quentin Grimes' job is done on that possession. Here's the other thing, too, though. Here's the thing. Here's my critique of Quentin Grimes on the offensive end. On the offensive end, Quentin Grimes, you can't just be a spot-up shooter at the shooting guard position in the NBA. Grimes, you cannot just be a spot-up shooter in today's NBA. In today's NBA, you have to give defenders multiple things to think about. These guys are so athletic. These guys are so athletic that they can guard two spot-up shooters at once. You see it often. You see it often. You see it with Grimes and Cam Reddish on our team. If the ball is away from them, they will zone up between two offensive players and play the ball when it's reversed back to them. they'll go to the ball, close out to the ball, regardless who has it. And Grimes, if they're doing that, if you are doing that on defense, people are doing that on defense to you also. So what I'm saying is in the read and react part of the offense, Grimes needs to use his sauce and try to penetrate and go to the basket. And what does that do, Uncle Freezy? Well, for one, if Grimes catches in the read and react scenario and attacks the basket, right? All of a sudden, his defensive man has to work on defense and not take a break on defense, right? 2, the opposing center has to step up away from Randall, Mitch, and RJ. Because whoever's rim protector has to do just that, protect the rim. 3, what that does is it makes you a scoring threat at all times. Now when RJ Barrett goes to the rim, barrels his way to the rim, right? Quentin Grimes' man is not sagging off of Grimes because he has to remember that Grimes is now an offensive threat, whether the spot-up shot is there or whether Grimes takes it off the dribble. Right? That's what Grimes has to do going forward. And in order to be impactful for these Knicks, in order for these Knicks to get better, Grimes has to be a two-way guy and not just a defensive guy that just spots up for three-pointers. And so I mentioned RJ, and without going 3 hours on RJ Barrett, I'll just try to keep it as short as possible. RJ Barrett's defense is awful. Right now, RJ Barrett is an awful NBA player. Awful. When you watch him on tape, he makes the cardinal flaws, the ones where in high school you will get pulled and benched. Right? For one, the one thing about RJ that can be fixed immediately is RJ Barrett on defense, back up and give the offensive player space. Right? Because it's better for RJ to give up a long contested 2 than it is for RJ Barrett to give up a layup at the rim. RJ at 6'6", 214, 210, whatever RJ Barrett is. RJ Barrett is not a Andre Iguodala type defender. RJ Barrett is not a Matisse Thybulle type defender. Right? RJ doesn't have the initial quickness of a Quentin Grimes defensively. He just doesn't. Right? And so I don't want to talk about if he's hurt, if he's sick, if he's out of shape. I don't care. Right? The main thing that RJ Barrett should be doing on defense is sagging off of his man a little, right? Forcing his man to make decisions, right? And playing those decisions with angles, right? Angles is how RJ Barrett will become a better defender. Because RJ Barrett is not 6'7" he's not Scottie Pippen. He's not 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan or none of that stuff. RJ Barrett is a fire hydrant kind of for his for his 6'6" frame. Right? So RJ, with that said, you don't have the foot speed, right, to run with Ja Morant. You don't have the foot speed to run with Darius Garland's. You don't have the foot speed to run with Trey Young's. So what you do is give them a little bit of space and force them to make decisions. Am I going to dribble past a shoot right here? When RJ Barrett crowds them, the immediate decision has already been made. Go by RJ Barrett. Pyong. Roadrunner. RJ Barrett crowds. I saw him guard. I saw him guard Jeremy Grant, right? And he tried to body Jeremy Grant. He was close up on Jeremy Grant, and Jeremy Grant went by RJ Barrett as if RJ Barrett was a traffic cone, right? What that tells me is that RJ Barrett doesn't have the initial quickness to stay with guys when he bumps them and plays physical defense, a smothering defense. He's not quick enough because a NBA player with a decent first step will get by RJ, and then that forces Mitchell Robinson to step up, which forces Randall to be the rim protector, which forces the offense to kick that ball out to the corner on the opposite side, right? And then we complain, why is there a guy wide open in the corner? Well, it starts with a defensive rotation. RJ Barrett gets beat off the dribble. Mitchell Robinson steps up. Julius Randle takes the place where Mitchell Robinson just left. And now there is an opposing player on the other side of the court so wide open that they just knock down threes like that all the time. All the time. You see it, you saw it. Y'all saw it with Kemba Walker last year. You saw it with Jalen Brunson early on, right? Tibbs made the switch early. You're like, no, we ain't even going to get into that. Jalen Brunson's not even going to guard these fast guards. We're going to put Jalen Brunson somewhere else. But RJ has a problem with this also. And it's quite easy to blame Randall or Obi, Randall or Obi, whoever is in that spot. When Hartenstein steps up when RJ gets beat and Obi fills that gap that's evacuated by Hartenstein, and there's a wide open three-pointer on the other side of the floor, is that really Obi Toppin's fault? Is that really Julius Randle's fault? It's one of those things where RJ Barrett needs to improve. And these are fundamental improvements. You don't have to go back to the lab and RJ needs to get on steroids or something. This is easy. RJ Barrett, is better for you to give up a long contested two than to get beat off the dribble and have the rest of your teammates having to rotate. Back up a little bit. Use your length. You use what God gave you, RJ. Right? My other thing on RJ is this. And mind you, I have some positives for RJ. I just want to get these out of the way first. I have a lot of positives for RJ. This is going to sound like an RJ Barrett love fest and whatever. But here's the thing. RJ Barrett in the pick and roll, this has to stop. RJ Barrett and the pick and roll has to stop, and it has to stop now. RJ Barrett in the pick and roll is ridiculous. For one, why is RJ Barrett getting a screen? Is RJ Barrett getting a screen merely because he can't beat his man off the dribble? Or is he trying to initiate the pick and roll offense? Ask yourself that. Keith Turner, Is RJ Barrett trying to get a free run at the rim, or is he trying to get others involved when he runs the pick and roll? Is RJ Barrett trying to get a layup at the basket, or is he trying to get others involved when he runs the pick and roll? It's a simple question. The question and the answer in my mind is RJ Barrett needs a screen because he can't beat his man off the dribble. Right? RJ Barrett needs that screen because he can't beat an average NBA defender off the dribble. And here's why the screen and roll with RJ Barrett doesn't work. And I'm not knocking RJ. These are small things that RJ can do to tweak his game. And when he does it, you'll see a new and improved RJ Barrett, in my opinion. For one, when RJ Barrett and Knicks fans, y'all have seen this. Y'all watch games. When RJ Barrett calls for the screen, he backs up damn near to Staten Island. RJ Barrett calls for the screen, and then he backs up about 10 feet to get a running start. Right? RJ Barrett, if you're Tibbs, you're like RJ. You know when you back up 10 feet, you give the defense time to set a defense against you. So if RJ Barrett calls for the screen at 24 feet, right, and then he backs up to 35, 36 feet, the backline defense can call out a RJ stopper defense. Because RJ Barrett is not fast enough from 35, 36 feet away to beat a center that's only 5 feet away from the rim. That's why when RJ Barrett goes to the rim, it looks like a sea of hands that he's trying to beat. So what I'm saying to RJ Barrett offensively in this pick and roll scenario, RJ, don't back up 10 feet. When you catch it, you tell, and this is fundamental basketball. This is something a 22-year-old NBA player should know. Instead of you calling the screener to a specific spot, right? You call the screener and tell the screener where to go. Keep your dribble alive. Once the screen is set, you rub your man off the dribble, attack the basket, and get into pick and roll from there. The fundamentals of the game are completely lost on these young, low IQ, poor decision-making players. Why call Mitchell Robinson out to 25 feet? For one, the opposing team knows that Mitchell Robinson is not a threat at 25 feet to do anything. Right? Mitchell Robinson's A is not going to set a good screen. Right? B, he's not going to beat a man to the basket for the lob. Not anymore for some reason. And C, Mitchell Robinson is not a jump shooter. So when you call Mitch out that far, all you're doing is eliminating offensive options. RJ Barrett starts to pick and roll at 36 feet. He calls out Mitchell Robinson. so that he can get a running start around the screen. And now everybody knows that RJ Barrett is going to throw up a wild layup at the rim. Meanwhile, Mitchell Robinson is still trying to navigate through traffic. But why? This could be eliminated by calling Mitch out to 25 feet, keeping a live dribble, right? And when Mitch go, because when we were in high school, we were taught that you call out the screener 5 to 10 feet away from you, and then you dribble towards the screen and rub your man off the screen and attack going downhill. The Knicks called the screener right up on where the play is, the point of attack. Why? You see him shuffling, resetting, shuffle, reset, shuffle, reset. It's a moving screen, and it doesn't work. When you watch the game, when you watch RJ in the screener roll, you'll see Mitch come out, and Mitch will set and reset, because RJ Barrett is not explosive enough to go around the initial screen. So, with that said, we understand that. We're not knocking RJ Barrett, right? We're not knocking RJ because you have to play with the gifts that you have, right? Right? RJ, if you want less people at the rim, if you want others involved in your screen and roll, pick and roll scenario, don't back up 12, 13, 15 feet to get a running start. Because by the time you start, the defense can call out a defense and get set. Just call out the screen. Let the screener set. Tell them to stay there. Like, tell the screener to stay there until you rub off the screener. And then once you can tell him to go. Chris Paul does it to perfection. And it's not because Chris Paul is say a athletic freak. Chris Paul is old school. And he has a high IQ. He knows when DeAndre Ayton comes up, he's like, hey, big fella, don't go until I tell you to go. And Ayton will stay there until Chris Paul tells him to go. Go, go, go. Then the attack is on. Mitchell Robinson will go out, show his hip, and then run back to the rim. We like to call it slip screen for some reason. But why? Why does Mitchell Robinson need to set a slip screen when he's never a threat at the rim? If RJ Barrett does this, if RJ Barrett is able to rub his defender off of a good screen against a defense that's not set, now you'll see RJ Barrett going to the basket, right? And doing what he does best. Also, RJ Barrett needs to utilize his floater. RJ Barrett needs to utilize his pull-up jumper. It's the same thing that we said about Emmanuel Quickly 2 years ago, right? You remember 2 years ago we had the conversation, why is this dude always throwing up the floater? Why didn't he use the pull-up jumper? And so I'm saying it now with RJ Barrett. Why is RJ Barrett not using a floater or a midi? Right? What's the difference between an uncontested pull-up 9-footer and a contested layup against three players, 6 hands? The difference is, one, RJ Barrett does that. RJ Barrett's shot is going to get blocked by John Morant or some small guard, right? But RJ Barrett with the midi would be money. RJ Barrett, use your mid-range game on those. You don't have to go all the way to the rim. The whole thing that Tibbs was saying The whole thing Tibbs is saying, attack the basket, is that you draw in the defense. Paris Duggar, thank you for Jen's contribution. Paris Duggar says, Grimes is the reason Randall is so bad also. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate that, Paris Duggar. RJ Barrett, that pull-up 8-footer, it works. RJ, you know who else is not a great athlete and uses the mid-range game? Devin Booker. Devin Booker is not an elite athlete, but he uses the mid-range. RJ Barrett is something to consider. So my deal with Obi Toppin is this. Obi Toppin needs to be more assertive. Assertion is what's missing from Obi's game. Aggression. Assertiveness and aggression. There are times when Obi Toppin, in watching Knicks games, Obi Toppin does the right thing about 80% of the time, right? But our low IQ players do the right thing about 35% of the time. When you watch these games, Obi will set a screen, reverse pivot, and cut baseline, but our guards will rotate the ball back around the top of the key. So Obi legit would be open for a lob, but the basketball is going in the other direction. Is that a Tom Thibodeau thing? No. That's a Emmanuel Quickly, Derrick Rose thing. Right? So I saw in the last game we played, Obi Toppin looked so flabbergasted about not getting touches that you could see him still doing the right thing, but doing it with his head down. Right? And they still didn't see him. Right? Obi Toppin will try to do the right thing. Obi Toppin, I think, is a rotting fruit, right? Not saying that in a bad way. What I'm saying is the talent is rotting right before our eyes because he's not being used properly, and not just because of Tibbs, but because of personnel. And it's the reason why I pounded the table for a second unit guard like Mike Conley. That's seltzer water on ice, y'all. Just some black cherry seltzer water, a bunch of ice. What I would say is when you watch Cam Reddish, when you watch Obi Toppin, they look to do the fundamental thing, right? They look to do the fundamental thing, but these ball dominant guards that can't read defenses anymore, especially Rose. Rose is one who gets the ball. Derrick Rose is a score first guard. period. I think Tibbs wants him to be that because of the lack of scoring. Emmanuel quickly is forced to be that too. Score first guard. That is Tibbs' fault. And I was going to speak to, I want to get more in depth about Obi and how Obi and Quickly and Grimes can be salvaged, how these young players can be salvaged. But at the same time, for the sake of not running over too long, because I want to do a Knicks morning drive, even though it's going to be an afternoon version. Tom Thibodeau is ruining the Knicks. This is ultimately what I wanted to get to, right? Ultimately, this is what I wanted to get to. Tom Thibodeau is ruining this young talent, right? Quentin Grimes is very talented, right? Emmanuel Quickly is very talented, okay? Obi Toppin is very, 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 very physically gifted. Cam Reddish is very, very physically gifted, right? But as I look around the league, as I look around the NBA, the future of the NBA is super bright, right? So there is a group of stars on the come up, and you know their names. They have names like Luka Doncic. They have names like Zion Williamson, Anthony Simons. You know these names. The NBA has a bunch of talented players. You know them, Trae Young. You know the names already. Trae Young, Luka. Man, listen. They're right behind Giannis and them. They're right behind Giannis and AD and Karl Anthony Towns. But look at the guys. Look at the guys right behind. Look at the guys right behind Giannis and them. Luka, Trae Young, Zion. I mean, these Devin Booker, Zach LaVine. I mean, these guys are everywhere. But the disturbing thing to me is not that generation, not Luka's group of stars, but the stars right behind them. And it frustrates me to no end that the Knicks can't get in this star. The Knicks can't go get a star because now there's another group of stars. And you know who they are. The Ben Matherins. They look at Ja Morant as if Ja Morant is an old man. The Paolo Bancheros. They look at Zion as if Zion is an old man. This next group of guys behind Ja, behind Zion, behind Luka, behind Devin Booker, behind the group of stars that's 20, behind the Jalen Browns is a group of up-and-comers like Ben Mathurin, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Balls. All these group of young up-and-coming stars get to showcase what they got. Meanwhile, Tom Thibodeau has the handcuffs on Obi Toppin. Tom Thibodeau has the handcuffs on Quentin Grimes. Tom Thibodeau has the handcuffs on Emmanuel Quickly. But he puts the battery in the back of RJ Barrett. If you're a Knicks fan today, you should be frustrated out of your mind right now that teams like Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets, have a LaMelo Ball, right? Teams like Atlanta have a DeJounte Murray. Who else Atlanta got? Trey Young. Orlando has these young and up and comers. Jalen Suggs, the Franz Wagner. They have these young and up and comers. Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter. And the Knicks won't allow their old coach to take the shackles of his young talent and let them run. Let them play. As I watched the Cleveland game, I was glad and not glad. I was happy and not happy. I was excited and not excited at the same time. Right? How does Indiana rebuild right in front of our eyes, and the Knicks won't take the shackles off of their young kids? What are we doing out here, Tibbs? Why is this one thing more important than the future? Why is right now more important than the future of Knicks basketball? If you're a Knicks fan right now and you watch, look at the age of these stars, right? Look at the tier of these stars, and tell me where the Knicks fit in, right? Tell me where the Knicks fit in. You have a tier of older stars, LeBron, Steph Curry, and those guys, right? And then there's another tier, right? The Giannis, Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns, Bradley Beals, those guys. And then underneath them, you have the Zach LaVines, the Karl Anthony Town type guys, the Devin Bookers of the world, right? Then behind them, you have, and I'm not naming everybody in every group, but I'm just saying in general, behind the Devin Bookers and Zach LaVines, then you have the Zions, the Jazz, the Lukas, the Trey Youngs, the DeJounte Murrays, right? And then behind them, you have the Ben Matherins, the Paolo Bancheros, you have the LaMelo Balls, the Anthony Edwards, all these guys, right? And then you notice I had not said one Nick name. I mentioned 0 Knicks. And did I do that intentionally just to disrespect my own team? Of course I didn't. Of course I wouldn't disrespect my own team. That's ridiculous. Why would I disrespect my own team? Right? That's ridiculous. But other franchises have guys flying under the radar, like Devin Vassell, Jalen Green, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. All these teams have young talent that are allowed to play free and develop, and we have a coach that won't even let his centers shoot jump shots. We have a coach that won't even let his shooting guard put the ball on the floor and play make. Unless it's RJ Barrett, of course. RJ Barrett has carte blanche to do whatever. RJ Barrett's the golden child. He's the future of New York Knicks basketball. And they have the battery in RJ Barrett's back. Meanwhile, when you look at every tier of good player, man, I didn't even mention the Kawhi Leonards, the Paul Georges. I didn't even mention them. I didn't even mention them. I didn't even mention the Joel Embiids, the James Hardens, the Tyrese Maxeys, the Jason Tatums, the Jalen Browns, the Scotty Barnes. And yet, I think I mentioned like 25 to 30 players, and I mentioned 0 Knicks. Is this a front office thing? No. This is a old coach who I like, but I like Tibbs. But just because you like somebody don't mean you always like what they do. Just because you like somebody don't mean that you know what I'm saying, like everything that you do. You don't always agree with them. And listen, y'all, I apologize for coming on here and not, talking the mainstream talk. Right? I know a lot of people tune in to see like the mainstream talk, whatever the popular topic is. Whatever the popular topic, people want me to just pound the table on one topic all the time. I'm not that type of person. I'm the number one chief rock at Knicks universe. I know that I'm a good orator. I know I find good topics, and I know I talk to y'all about different stuff. That's what I do best, and I got to do that. Right? I can't pound the table on pounding the table. Like being a shot jock is not my thing. I want to speak to y'all's intellect. Right? I want to speak to y'all's intellect. I want to put these things out here so that we can all think about certain things. Right? I want to take all the things that y'all talk to me about and think about it for a day or two and then come back and spit this stuff the way that y'all like to have that spit at y'all. Talk that talk the way that y'all like to have that talk to y'all. Right? But this thing, I started off with Grimes, and I started and wanted to talk to Grimes because I think Quentin Grimes is being ruined right in front of our eyes. Right? I think Quentin Grimes, I think, is being ruined right in front of our eyes. I think Emmanuel Quickly is being ruined right in front of our eyes. I think Obi Toppin is being ruined right in front of our eyes. It's not that the Knicks can't get talent. It's what do you do with the talent when you get it? Dogs chasing cars. Dogs chasing cars. The dog can chase the car all he wants, but what's the dog going to do with it when he catches the car? Nothing. Right? Think about the level of stars in this league going all the way out to the oldest star in the league, probably LeBron, and backtracking down the timeline all the way to one of the youngest up and coming stars in the league, Paolo Banchero and Ben Mathurin, and ask yourself what Nick is in that timeline. What Nick is in that timeline? Yo, this is my Knicks update, right? Thank you if you're listening to this on Apple, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all the other platforms. Man, y'all show me mad love out there. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. The audio podcast thing is so overwhelming. And it humbles me to think that y'all actually like what y'all hearing. I appreciate y'all, man. And for others that are tuning in for the first time, um, I'm Uncle Freezy, the number one chief rocker in Knicks universe. I hope you enjoyed this Knicks update that turned into a rant or whatever. Um, y'all know what it is. I'm a passionate Knicks fan. Thank y'all for downloading this, and I appreciate y'all. For all my YouTubers, I'm gonna click off of this. I'm gonna end this right, and then I'm gonna go in here and speak to Mo for a split second, and then I'm gonna come back with the Knicks morning drive. afternoon edition. I'll holler at y'all later. Thank you, everybody, for coming through. Appreciate y'all, man. Peace.